And so I'm going to share it with you. And it's only as important as you apply it to be. So it's very simple. Let's start on our backs. You use a block between the inner thighs on this first section because it helps to activate the floor of the pelvis when we engage the inner thighs, and when we squeeze the block, of course, we engage the inner thighs. So just have the block between your knees and your feet a comfortable distance from your hips. Just relax your spine. And let's take a few breaths to settle in. So just some long, slow breaths. Breathing through the nose and through the back of the throat, the ujjayi, whispery sound. It's not to be confused with sniffing. We create a moist, warming breath. And just gently vibrates along the back of the throat. And we take deep diaphragmatic breaths so that the belly seems to swell, feels a swelling as you fill the lower lobes of lung, and the diaphragm pushes down to accommodate filling your lungs completely. So your belly will fill a little bit, which in turn tilts your pelvis, tailbone, toward the floor and increases the lumbar curve just slightly. With the exhale, as the belly empties, as the lungs empty and the diaphragm pulls back up into the rib cage, the belly empties, and then the natural action is the pelvis will tilt a little bit the other way. I'm exaggerating slightly so you can get the idea. So in other words, the natural kinesiology, physiology of the body is an opening and a filling on the inhale, an increasing of the lumbar curve, a slight tilting back of the chin, and then the exhale is the reverse, and as we empty the breath and the diaphragm pulls in and up and the lungs empty, which we want them to do completely, that's an important point, then the belly compresses. So the back body lengthens and the whole front body closes, and at the end we even feel a little contraction in the throat and the chin draws down, lengthening the back of the neck. When we practice yoga, we follow these patterns and exaggerate them. So that's why we find on the inhale we're doing these back bending movements, and on the exhale we're doing forward bending movements. We're just really enabling a greater flow of prana, which is the word we use for the life-giving energy that's activated by breathing. And that prana has everything to do with our health and vitality, the strength of our muscles, our flexibility, to the balance of our mind, to the health of the movement of the immune system, the nervous system, the endocrine system, and the digestive system. All of the body acts on a pumping basis, which is facilitated by the deep breath and the movement that accompanies it. So we'll inhale slowly through the nose, allow the belly to fill. Inhale until you feel the collarbone spread, and notice I'm slightly exaggerating. As you exhale this time, we'll squeeze the block and the muscles at the floor of the pelvis as we exhale. And just that much. Notice there's a deep inner tightening in the muscles of the pubis. The muscles between the pubic bone, the tailbone, and and the two sit bones. So those are 4 points of the floor of the pelvis we call the perineum. So we'll inhale a sense that the perineum is expanding, the floor of the pelvis is expanding. And on the exhale, we'll squeeze, tightening. For women, the best way to access this feeling, this root block we call mulabandha, the root bind, is to squeeze, engage, tighten, however you want to call it, the vaginal muscles. And that's a little graphic, but that's it, really. And for men, it's the scrotum, which can be a little more difficult to access, but with practice and using visualization, certainly can be accessed. In the meantime, the anal sphincter can be a substitute, although it's not actually all the way correct. But that's a good starting point. Just to start to wake up the pubic muscles is important. So we'll inhale, typically a 5-count inhale. We'll exhale and squeeze, 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 squeeze. It's like you're squeezing air out of a balloon. So just squeezing that deep pubic muscle to make it more neutral and cross-gender. And we'll hold that action for as long as we can. Never straining, so if you have to grasp for your inhale, you went too far. Just a relaxed extension. So that when you do release the lock, which you want to do right before you inhale, the breath flows in smoothly, but you'll gently increase the size of the inhale, which is one of the goals. So exhale, squeeze, 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 squeeze. Let's say 5 to 6 counts to complete the exhale and the deep contraction in the pubic muscles, facilitated and aided by the contraction of the inner thighs as we squeeze the block. We pause 5, say counts, relax, and the smooth breath flows, fills the belly and rises to fill the entire torso, and open, 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 open. So just that much, a couple more rounds. Exhale, squeeze, 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 squeeze. I'm just focusing on the root lock. We will engage the 3 locks eventually, the Uddiyana Bandha and the Jalandhara Bandha, or the navel lock and the throat lock as well. But for now, concentrate on this root lock. Squeeze, squeeze tighter. Try to wake up your connection. And then inhale. Just after relaxing, let the floor of the pelvis open, the belly swell, and the breath roll up the body like a wave until you feel saturated. You might even inhale a little more. And then the exhale, squeezing, exhale, exhale, exhale through the nose. Always exhaling through the nose.